It's Mark in the Morning on The Breakfast Club, joined by Hollywood writer, director, producer, actor Blake Freeman, also now an author. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us this morning.
A little bit earlier here than it is there.
Just a bit. I really appreciate you setting the alarm for us. Before we get into the book, could you give us a little bit of background on yourself? Where did you grow up, and how did you get into Hollywood and eventually into writing children's books?
Sure. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I grew up most of my life there in the South. I kind of had an epiphany one day that, maybe I wanted to do something different in life, and life hopefully it's got something different for me. And I was out on a golf course, believe it or not, and I had just gotten out of a company that we had started when I was, much younger, and just decided to reach for the most unattainable, hardest, thing I could think of, which would be acting, directing, which I knew nothing about, by the way.
Uh-huh.
And just shot for it, and it worked. And then I said, I really don't know what I'm doing. It's kind of funny. So, most of the stuff I do is all comedy work. Adult, basically comedy, not really in the kids sector. So this is really outside of my comfort zone. It's not laughing at my own jokes, so it was successful in that part.
So how did that come to be where you're doing adult comedy in Hollywood and now you're writing children's books? What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I grew up loving animation, and I felt that basically most of the stories that I watched, even Bugs Bunny and stuff like that, and the sarcasm and these things, they're a part of me, and I feel like that happens, good or bad sometimes, as we are with kids, the things that we grow up with. And I saw a need, in the wildlife conservation, because these animals are so important to us and to our ecosystem. And just came up with a character and just thought it would be incredible to be able to give a world to kids that they can just be lost in and fall in love with, and let it be exciting and adventurous, something that I would really feel like that I would have liked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this come from.
And the title of the book is called Haibu, Lost in New York. What can you tell us about Haibu, the main character?
Yeah, so Haibu is she's from the north. She's essentially like an Eskimo, and she gets lost when she's trying to prove herself to the village. She's a young, very strong female, and she wants to prove herself. She doesn't want to be at home, cleaning, cooking, waiting for the hunters to come back. She wanted to prove that she could do that, and while she was out, she ends up going out on herself, by herself alone, and ends up face to face with a polar bear. And it's a scary situation. And as he's growling to her, moving closer, his growls become words, and she starts to be able to realize that she can understand animals and then even speak to animals. And that situation, obviously being a scary one, their struggle breaks the ice loose, and she ends up floating away, and she gets picked up by a barge and ends up in New York, lost. The whole story then has her eventually, before she's saved and then back to her parents, that she has helped save some circus animals. And I don't know if you know this, but last year, State of New York banned the use of animals in all circuses. Mm-hmm. And this book kind of makes Haibu one of the heroes of that situation.
That is great stuff. Joining us from the West Coast, writer, director, actor, and children's book author Blake Freeman. We're going to have more with him coming up in just a bit. You're listening to The Breakfast Club on Maine's Big Z. Nickelback with Someday on Maine's Big Z 92.7, online at mainsbigz.com, where you can stream us through the TuneIn app. We are now commercial-free from 9 to noon. It's Mark on The Breakfast Club, 8:19 on the clock, and about 26 degrees outside. That's probably as warm as it's going to get today. I bet it's a lot warmer out on the West Coast, where our guest is joining us from this morning. Happy he set the alarm for us. Author, writer, director, producer, actor Blake Freeman is talking about his new book, Haibu, Lost in New York. Now, this is a children's book, but I am sure that adults will enjoy this as well, because Haibu does what every child and most adults dream of, and that is communicating with animals. Blake, how did you come up with that idea?
Well, I just, I went to a wildlife conservation gala, a few of them, and I just started thinking to myself, each year, these people are out there on the front lines, and then they come back, and they have to host these galas and raise money, and it's almost like they start over each year. And I was just wondering why we couldn't just educate future generations on the plight of animal conservation and the fight, like the rhinos and the rhino horn, elephants being slaughtered for their tusks, things like that. And so I created a character that, finds out she could speak to animals and then uses that ability to save these animals worldwide. And that's basically the premise and how I came up with it, was to help educate future generations and make this fight a little easier.
Yeah. And you had to, when you were creating the main character for this book, Haibu, she's a female and she is from Iceland. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, not necessarily Iceland, just somewhere up there. We made up a place called Montuca just so we could keep people's minds off of whether it's geographically correct or what her nationality is and what have you. Both of those things are made up. It's a Mayock is a kind of a made up tribe of ours in a sense, and we really wanted the focus to stay on the animals. So the idea was that she lives somewhere where she's a little bit a part of the land, and this is kind of an old ability that has been passed down and skipped several generations, but she just happens to be one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. What has been some of the feedback you've received so far from adults and children about the book?
Oh, it's been incredible. The book came out November 6th, and the feedback has been awesome. Plus, we tested it a lot, several different schools and several different ages for children, and to be honest with you, it's been far greater than what we thought. That response, but this is a television series that's coming now. We have feature film offers that we're currently negotiating. Haibu is going to be seen in all formats, so very exciting.
Wow, that is great. And at the end of the book, I noticed it says, "Never the end. Haibu will be back." What are the plans for Haibu?
So we have another book coming. In fact, we got a deadline here in about a week for the second book to be finished. So it'll be out in just a few months. We have picture books on the way for the the very, very young children, and those will be in stores later this year as well, all over the world. And then again, as I told you, TV and film, she's coming.
That's awesome. Looking forward to it. He is writer, director, producer, actor, and author Blake Freeman. We're going to have more with Blake coming up in just a bit. You're listening to The Breakfast Club on Maine's Big Z. Maine's Big Z, 92.7, online at mainsbigz.com. It is Mark in the Morning on The Breakfast Club, talking with writer, director, producer, actor, and author Blake Freeman. His latest offering in the children's book category is Haibu, Lost in New York. And we were talking about, Blake, we were talking about your passion for wildlife and how it comes through in this character in the book. You've also partnered with Wild Aid. What can you tell us about that organization?
Yeah, so Wild Aid, I wanted to pick one basically that I could, I guess if you're going to go with wildlife conservation, most of the work is done overseas. And I really wanted to find one that you could, to partner with Haibu, find one that, one, is super passionate about what they do, and two, that you could actually see what they're doing. You know, you can see the progress, and it's very hard to do with most wildlife conservation. But what they do is they stop the buying of illegal goods. So they work with legislation with multiple countries, and they stop the buying of and the sale of like ivory and rhino horn. And that in turn then takes it off the market, and it stops the poaching. It's incredible what they do. It's incredible how they do it, and the fact that you can see their progress makes them, you know, one of the most, I guess, exciting groups that I know of. But they're doing an excellent job.
And where can people learn more about Wild Aid?
So yeah, they can go to wildaid.org, and there are videos there. They've got incredible ambassadors that are also in those videos, from, you know, Yao Ming to Leo DiCaprio to Richard Branson. Some of the most famous people on the planet have chosen Wild Aid, just because of again, what I just told you about how you can track their progress, and they've become heavily involved, and it's just a great organization. One of the best I've ever met.
Yeah. The book is called Haibu, Lost in New York. Haibu, a young girl who is a voice for those who don't have one, those being the animals. And I'm curious, what gives you more satisfaction when you hear, "Hey Blake, great job in that movie," or "You did a fantastic job directing," or when you hear from a child complimenting you on Haibu?
Well, for one, let me commend you that you're the first person that's asked me that in this entire tour. But that's something that is very near and dear to me, that I actually even talk about. So thank you for that.
Sure.
I tell people that I've watched these movies on screen, and I've done this, you know, in the comedy sector, and it's like, wow, you know, I came from a place that had nothing to do with Hollywood making movies, and, you know, it feels good, you know, to accomplish these things. But, you know, for some reason with Haibu, the impact story that it is, the positive things that it can do, you know, it's much more satisfying just in the book, and to see the kids respond, and, you know, to see how it's starting to grow, and that people find, you know, that they can help as well, and they like spreading the word. It's, you know, it's much more satisfying. It's much more fulfilling, and, you know, I don't know. I just there's a smile on my face right now just thinking of it. It's the best thing that I felt like I've done, and I really feel that you know, this is something that we're only scraping a little bit off right now. We don't know how big this thing can go and how much it can help, so we're super excited about it.
You are doing some great work, my friend, and I wish you all the success in the world, and I look forward to more Haibu on the bookshelves and on television, and who knows, maybe the big screen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for joining us. And also, thank you for sending us a couple of books as well. We're going to give those away to some lucky listeners, so we really appreciate that.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you guys stay warm. You said 26 degrees, and that makes you it.
We're going to try. It's not easy out here, Blake. It's not easy, but we're going to try.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.